This was me in Japan a few years ago with some friends I met. Yeah. So for people who don't think I actually travel, I do actually travel. So yeah, that was me in Japan in Tokyo. That was actually me in Harajuku. I actually met them coming from Harajuku early in the morning and asked them how to get to the Harajuku train station because I wasn't sure where to go. So they showed me around, and I guess they were just like they were super friendly, and I guess they were just I guess pleased to to talk with someone, you know, foreign. So they told me who they were and stuff like that, and then one of them followed me partially to trying to get to the airport, or either it was just on her way. I'm not sure, and then she left. But very very cool peoples. What's up, Howard? What's going on, man? So yesterday I did a hot take on the whole uh protests surrounding the deportations and stuff like that, and it got demonetized as I thought it might. So I'm gonna steer away from controversial topics and go back to the philosophy and other fun topics for right now. Uh, Professor says, "What's up?" He says, "Hey man, how are you?" Um, but yeah, so I'm gonna steer away from the controversial topics for right now. Not that I won't do anymore, but if they're gonna get demonetized, then there's no point in me doing them unless I'm getting donations because I I depend on the revenue from these streams once they're recorded being monetized because they generate revenue through me via the ad placements. But if they get demonetized, which means I'm not getting ad revenue from it, then it makes them pointless to do unless I'm like again getting uh, donations from you folks either through the super chats, the super stickers, the super thanks, or the gifts. So some trolls say, "Granddad, when you dying?" None. I just finished the second run today. I did a weighted vest run, which your bitch ass can never do, Aaron or Arav, whatever the fuck your stupid name is, you fucking troll. Go suck a dick, bitch. Because before that, I just did 13 kilometers earlier today, you bitch ass punk. Fucking troll. Go suck your father's dick. The way your mother did for me. I'm not an illegal immigrant. I'm a foundational black American. That means I'm more American than you are, motherfucker. I can trace my ancestry back to the very foundation of this country, including Thomas Jefferson, one of the founding fathers. So go suck a dick and you're banned off my channel. Bye bye. Someone said I'm from Africa. I'm American, dumbass. Literally can trace my family roots to the Monticello plantation in Charlottesville, Virginia, the Jefferson family home. So try again. Which this is perfect for getting into today's topic. So I'm getting back into my late night philosophy, which is logical fallacies. Um, Trolls aren't even trying to. They're not even illogical. They're illogical. Like they are people who are either have no lives or mentally ill because I can guarantee you, if I was younger, I had better things to do than troll people online. Like, when I was in my 20s, I was going to college, I was in the army, and I was getting pussy. But these losers are a bunch of incels who got nothing else better to do than to try to snap at people on online. But here's the problem: I'm Generation X, and I can snap better than you because we had a whole lifestyle where we roasted each other for fun for like all of our childhood. So if you try to roast me, it ain't gonna it ain't gonna last, son, because we literally had contests in school roasting each other. I, People really don't. Gen Z really does not know what Generation X is. You really don't. Even though most of us are your parents, Generation X are by and large the parents of most Generation Z, which is a huge. it, I'm going to say it. Um, the children of Generation X are their biggest L that they've ever taken, because most of their children are either Gen Z or Gen Alpha. So Gen X has taken a huge L on the children that they've produced. They've produced the most pussy ass entitled generation I've ever seen. I mean, they are lower. Excuse me, because I ran. I'm a little bit dehydrated. Um, they produce men who are the lowest testosterone of any generation prior. Um, they 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 actually reverse something that has been a trend for the past 100 years, which is the Flynn effect. The Flynn effect was the observation that each generation did better on the IQ test than the previous generation. So they had to renormalize the test for each generation. Otherwise, each generation would just keep doing phenomenally better because each generation uh, had better education that emphasized um, abstract reasoning abilities. That's fell off with Gen Z and a little bit with millennials, but definitely with Gen Z. So Generation X takes an L for producing those bastards. And the fact they want to clap at people who are older than them shows you have no. They don't even have respect for the elders like we did. I wouldn't clap at boomers or the silent generation the way these dumbasses do. And so I have no sympathy for them, and I will roast the fuck out of you for anything in your that I can get on you. The only thing in my water is water. I'm an athlete. I don't do dumb shit. I'm not part of your generation that does mollies and Percocets. Your whole fucking generation are a bunch of fucking losers. And I said it. I try to be diplomatic and say not all Gen Z are bad because some Gen Z are cool, but you're one of those fucking losers. Like, there's nothing in my water but water. Let me see if I missed any good chats before I move on to actually describing what I'm talking about tonight. I don't know what Professor Max was saying about make history. So anyway, as I'm scrolling through the chat room, I'm gonna get back into my little diatribe here. So I've been doing these late night philosophy talks for the past week and a half, just to kind of get away from talking about political topics and stuff like that. Even though I've talked a lot about political topics and stuff like that, that's actually not my that's not actually like my main interest. It's just that I will talk about certain hot topics, but I'm backing away from that because if they're going to get demonetized, there's no point in doing them unless I'm receiving donations from the people who want to hear that information, right? Just a dude says, "Hey man, what's going on?" Carl says, "Yo, what's up?" He said, "Damn, why you talking about like that about us?" So Carl, to be fair, like I said, if it doesn't, you know, if it doesn't apply, let it fly, right? I don't know if you ever heard that old saying, if it doesn't apply, let it fly. So if you're not one of those Gen Z who are entitled, disrespectful to older folks, effeminate, then it doesn't apply to you. But too many of those guys are like dudes who will get online and try to uh, snap at someone from the anonymity of their digital screen. That's a very effeminate behavior. Not to mention, it's really stupid. And then they're entitled by the fact that they get upset when I call them what they are, a bunch of retarded faggots. So, but like I said, if it doesn't fly, let it if it doesn't apply, let it fly. But I will roast anyone. Howard Clay says they're a bunch of betas. Absolutely. He says the food we eat. I don't buy that because look, in my generation, we didn't eat healthy food at all. Like, look, we had these microwave fries. Gen, if you're Gen X or you're a older millennial, you know what I'm talking about. Remember the magic fries, guys, that we stick in the microwave for like 2 minutes, and no matter how much you cook them, they would never be done on the inside. They'd be burnt on the outside, but still mushy and cold on the inside. Yeah, we love them. They were like the crinkle cut fries. Those, you know, we didn't eat healthy. The difference was though we were required to do physical education, and because of the cutbacks in education in the past 20 or so years in public education, they have removed gym as a mandatory requirement for a lot of students. So some schools don't have gym altogether, and even the ones that do, they don't require it every day. For us, it was a requirement. Like, as much as we disliked it, we were used to the fact that you might go to homeroom, then your first period, homeroom first period, say that's like English or algebra. Then you go off to history second period. Third period, you're in gym. You're sitting there playing football, playing basketball, wrestling or something for an hour, sweaty as shit, and then gotta go to fourth period like like you just didn't have like you just weren't like battling for your life the previous hour ago, and we did it every day. Then that's on top of playing sports once we got home, or doing intramural sports. So if you did intramural sports, or or you just played at home recreationally like most of us did, we were always physically active. So it wasn't so much that healthy food, because we didn't have healthy food either. I dare say our food was worse than you guys, because there was less regulation. But in any case, I think part of it is less physical activity. So, and bad, worse parenting. So even even though we came from a lot of broken families in my generation, most of us had like step parents. So there was still like two parents involved. We had a lot of stepdaddies back then, until people of our generation realized that stepdaddy is a sucker. Is A lot of them are suckers, unfortunately, because they get to raise another person's child and don't get the benefit of that child carrying on their legacy. So uh, I know that's a rant, but I'm just saying, like, what for whatever reasons, Gen Z has fallen off from the older generations. I don't think it's a simple. There's not one single magic bullet that explains it, the whole thing. MT Powell says boomer grandparents spoiled them. All grandparents do that, no matter what generation. Like, I, it's weird as Gen X. I'm in like the Middle Ages is a weird time where, at least now, like in my parents and grandparents generation, when you're in your 40s, you already expect to be a grandparent. But for us, it's different. It's like some of us are grandparents, while some of us are still parents of young children or teenagers, and some of us haven't had kids at all. I'm in the latter one. I haven't had kids at all yet. I am married though, but my wife and I have not had kids yet. We do want to, but it's gonna be funny because a lot of our, well, not hers, but a lot of my friends my age have already had kids, and some of my family members already who are my age or younger already have grandkids. Like my younger cousin has grandchildren already. I'm like, wait, what? And like she, I'm gonna say she can't be no older than like what 44, 43. Anyway, Howard says MH easily purchased on most Korean street markets. Man, don't get me started. TBJ says, "What's up on what's going on, TBJ?" MT Bowles, that's a funny username, by the way. He says they were doing LSD in 1969. That's true. See that was the boomer generation. The ones that were all free love, and psychedelic drugs. That was the boomer generation. I, so I, I'm definitely not speaking on their behalf because look, Generation X hated them way before the millennials hated them, and way before Gen Z hated them. Like they came after us first. This is why Generation X, we often roll our eyes at boomers when they talk about millennials and Gen Z because they literally just recycled the same complaints they had about us in the 80s and early 90s and put it onto you guys. Literally the same things. Oh, they don't want to work anymore. Oh, they're lazy. Oh, they don't have any respect. Oh, they're unambitious. Yada 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 yada. Literally everything they say about you guys, they said about us back in the 80s and 90s. Literally everything. Like boom. And what's worse than that is boomers are so unoriginal. They don't realize the same stuff that they're complaining about older people have been literally saying it since the 1800s. Like if you go back to old newspaper clippings from the late 1800s, there were literally people back in like 1890s. I'm not lying. In the 1890s, in newspaper columns saying, "Oh, this generation doesn't want to work anymore. They don't want to till the farm and they don't want to work in the factory." All sort of dumb shit. Like that's literally the same. They literally keep canning the same complaints. So when you get older, be wary that you don't keep doing the same thing. And I know some people will say, well, aren't you doing the same thing? No, the stuff I'm complaining about are things unique to the Gen Z generation. Like each generation has their own quirks. For instance, boomers are often called the sociopathic generation, and for good reason, because they just seem completely out of touch with reality insofar as not caring how what they do affects other people. That's why they're often called the sociopathic generation. Gen X, we were seen as the lost generation, like we lacked ambition and direction. We were overly cynical, that sort of thing. Millennials were basically they just were given the same problems as us. Like so, Howard says, "Carl, stick around and learn." Right. MT says, "Can you think of anything positive about Gen Z?" Yeah, I can. I just because I say mean things about them doesn't mean I can't say positive things. If anything, you will learn about me looking at my streams or videos, and I hope you guys check out my other content. I'm fair and balanced. I will say a couple of good things about Gen Z, not just one. One, I like the fact that more of these guys, the ones who are not effeminate, have become more red pill than the previous generations of males. I think Gen X and boomers were huge simps. Like I said, the boomer generation were the generation of stepdaddies. Gen Z ain't having that shit. I'll give it to you guys all day long on that one. Like Gen Z is like, yeah, we're not being anybody's stepdaddy. Fuck that shit. And they're the ones that's like, yeah, I'm gonna go to the gym. Fuck these bitches. I ain't taking you out on some $300 date and I don't even know you. Like I can pay less than that at the Asian massage parlor and get what I want, or I can just go on the interwebs and get me a $40 date if you know what I mean. So Gen Z is like, nah. um, what's another good thing? I mean, they're more uh, they're more media savvy. Because look, I this is um, I do give it to you guys on this as well is that you live in a generation. I mean, you live in a time where anything you do can and will be recorded for eons on. Like the uh, Gen X and millennials were the last generations that could have a childhood where they could do where they could fuck up and it not be put on camera to be seen 20 years later when they go to apply to a job somewhere. They was like, isn't this you in blackface at this Halloween party in 19 something? We don't have to worry about that. Or didn't you TP this person's house back in like we got to live a normal childhood and no, and be reckless teenagers without worrying about it carrying on to our future. So you guys have to be more media savvy. So I'll give you that as well. And I think um, I'll give you one more compliment. Um, I think Gen Z has a wider circle of empathy than previous generations. Like I think that started with our generation, with Gen X, as we were able to see what's going on globally and connect with people. So I could look back and at the risk of monetization, of being demonetized, I'm going to say this and I don't give a shit. Fuck it. I can remember being a kid and remember seeing the 1989 Tiananmen Square massacre on live TV. I, I saw the picture of the kids protesting at Tiananmen Square getting rolled over by tanks. We can empathize with people across the globe. That started with our generation because despite the cliche, the revolution will be televised. So I think Gen Z has widened their circle of empathy with the with the evolution of digital media. So there you go. I said some positive things about Gen Z. Universe says there ain't any water that's a damn pool you drinking from. How big is that bottle, man? This is just a regular um I guess I don't think it's 2 liter. I think it's 1.5 liters. It's like this kind that you would take with you. Like I take this to the gym with me, but I also drink it at home because I know if I drink this, I've been properly hydrated. And I know it sounds like I'm bragging, but I'm not. I literally run I'm a distance runner and I run every day. So I have to stay hydrated because as you can see, I was losing my voice and I just did a 2 mile run with my weight vest. So I have to stay properly hydrated on top of like I do martial arts and stuff too. And again, I'm not trying to brag, but I'm an athlete, so I have to stay properly hydrated. So it just makes sense to have a huge water container. And like to the guy who was joking earlier, like what's in the water? Nothing. Like the only time I put something in the water, it'll be the like the little Gatorade packets, right? The but that's it. Cause like, you lose a lot of electrolytes too when you work out. So usually if I add anything to my water, it'll be like the little electrolyte packets, like or the Gatorade. Like it doesn't have to be name brand. And I keep some in my bug out bag too, guys. You should have electrolytes in your bug out bag if you have a bug out bag because if you actually have to go hiking to your bug out location, you're going to get dehydrated and you're also going to lose electrolytes. So you want to put that in your bug out bag. Also, if you have to find water on your um en route to your bug out location, and you're not too and if you had to get water from like a pond or from somewhere, of course you're going to filter it either through like a water filter that you brought with you, boiled it, or use like the iodine tablets or the chloroflock army, like that we use in the army, the chloroflock tablets or something like that. But it gives it a really bad taste. So you often might want to use those little electrolyte packets with the sweetener in it to give it a more palatable taste. Um, okay, Carl's on some disrespectful stuff. I thought he was cool, but guess not. Baman Ma says hello from Iran. How are you, Baman? Is it Baman or Baman? Mr. says, yo, what's up, OG? Not, I'm not old yet. I'll take OG, but not OG. Old, I think OG gotta be you gotta be like 15 above to be OG. You gotta be like 15 above. I'm just OG. uh, MT said it's funny, man. He said Hot Pockets. Yeah, Hot Pockets came out. Uh, did that come out in the early 80s? All right, someone help me out there, Moonlit or somebody else. Did those come out in the 80s or the early 90s? I can't remember. But like I said, my favorite foods from back in the day, which weren't healthy at all. Like I said, were the magic fries, the little box of little microwavable crinkle fries you stick in the microwave, and they never came out correctly. Or the microwavable egg rolls, if you remember those, like the mini egg rolls. They had the pizza version, and then they had the original like fake Chinese ones. um, or the Elio's pizza, right? Those. Or I was, you know, my original thing I used to make was fried bologna. If you don't know about the fried bologna, you just don't know. But I'm talking about the fried bologna with the red tape on it. You go to fry it, you flip it over till it bubbles up, flip it back over again, then you pull the little red tape off of it, put it on some bread with some mustard or whatever, and call it a day. Some people might put cheese on it as well and pickles, whatever. No diddy. um, Hot dogs. I used to microwave hot dogs, and they used to smell horrible, but ate them anyway. Pause. um, but yeah, we didn't eat well back then. It's a good thing we stayed physically active. But unlike most Gen X who brag about how physically active we are, I still am. A lot of Gen X brag about how physically active we are, and these are the most out of shape dudes I've ever seen. So I'm like, yeah, when I was your age, we used to jump out of we used to jump out of the third floor building and hop on a bed mattress as a trampoline. I'm like, yeah, okay, but your 300-pound ass ain't doing that anymore. But I said, you probably get up out of bed like, oh, oh, oh. So yeah, but anyway, Zach says I'm 3 days out of rehab for the second time in 6 months, fighting the urge to go grab a fifth and eight ball right now. Zach, if you feel that way, man, work out. You know what I'm saying? If you get the urge, work out instead. I don't know if you have access to a gym, and but hey, if you get the urge, do some push-ups, do some burpees, do some planks, do some sit-ups, anything to get you off that get that mindset off you. And if you're like me, if you love fruit snacks, man, get you get you a value, get you one of those big Costco box size of fruit snacks. I'm not joking. Like anytime you got an urge, man, pop open a pack of those fruit snacks or do some push-ups. And I'm not saying that to be funny. Like go do some push-ups. Like you're out of shape and that. No, I mean seriously, like it's a good distraction. Like do some push-ups, man. Do some burpees. Do some air squats. Air squats is when you do squats without weights. Um, like sit-ups, crunches. Do stuff like that if you feel the urge. And and if that doesn't help you, then go, make a make a an appointment to see a primary care doctor and see if they can prescribe something to deal with the withdrawal symptoms. And I'm not saying like getting put on some sort of hard drug that's almost as bad as what you're trying to get off of, right? Because like like a lot of people trying to kick opioid addictions get prescribed methadone, which is just as freaking bad. So I'm not so when I'm saying again some prescribed, I'm thinking like people who like may have a smoking addiction and they might get prescribed Wellbutrin, which is also an antidepressant, stuff like that. So go, if you don't feel you can do it alone, go see a primary care doctor. He might prescribe you something, um, or he might assign you a specialist to help you with that through that can help you with behavioral therapy. So look into that. JD says that shit was cardboard, brother. Mola is also saying stay strong as that. Just a dude said gym class was fun. Yeah, it was fun. It's just that let's be honest. Like no one wanted no one wanted gym in the beginning of the beginning of the school day. We all wanted it like the best time for gym was the last period. Like set I don't know if you had 6 periods or 7 periods, but whatever the last period was, that was the best time to have gym class because if you were funky, you could just go straight home and go wash up because no one, I mean, at least not in any of the schools I went to, none of us wanted to shower at the gym. That was just everyone was just like, nah, that's gay, because it'd be funny because the gym teacher would usually it was the gym teacher was the only one who took a shower in the gym, and we looking at him just like, why is this dude free balling? Like what the fuck? It's like but yeah, none of us wanted to take a shower in the gym, so we would just and slap on some deodorant and some cologne. We might change out our t-shirt or something like that. But for the most part, like no one wanted to. Since we didn't want to shower in the gym, we all wanted like gym was fun, but it was better if it was like the last class of the day or the second to last class at least. But it sucked if gym was like your first period class because then you gotta be funky the rest of the day. I mean, maybe it will wear off, but I mean, you're in high school or middle school or junior high for us, and you know we're thinking about the girls, like because we wasn't trying to be looking all like Lord of the Flies for the rest of the day. You got girls walking around looking at you like nah, and the girls were pretty much the same way. Like they hardly did anything in gym, at least at my school. Like some of them, I would see them playing basketball, or sometimes they did. If we had to do gymnastics, they would do the gymnastics. But like that's like the only two things I ever see them do. Like we never saw them really like doing a lot of stuff like we had to do. Like we was doing everything: wrestling, gymnastics, basketball, football, baseball, kickball, volleyball. um, Unfortunately, we never did boxing. Some places did though. Um, some places even made them do square dancing. I don't know why square dancing was a requirement in gym, but climb. Oh yeah, climbing a rope exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like you sitting there, you sit there climbing a rope for dear life. First period class, and then you gotta go to English. You gotta go to English the next hour and pretend you just weren't doing like combat survival skills just an hour ago. That made school fun. So yeah, but definitely climbing a rope. I remember looking like a dummy climbing a rope because I remember watching the Olympics and I saw how they were climbing a rope without using their legs. So I tried to do that, and I just looked ridiculous trying to do that. uh, MT said Gen Z are children of the information age. Um, mm, Depending on what you mean by information age, I don't know, but the information age happened much earlier than Gen Z. Gen Z are the kids born between 97 and 2012. I would say the information age happened the early 90s. I think those are more. I think that's more the millennials. The millennials, um, Gen X was like the last generation that grew up during analog time. During, like we were like the last analog generation, and every generation then since has been like digital. Where Gen X is weird because we were born in like an analog time, but we quickly switched to being internet savvy, depending on what part of Gen X you're from. But I I don't know. I would say depend like I said, depending if you're saying information age as in the computer age, I would say that's more Gen X and millennials. Because by the time Gen Z came about, they were already living in the time where it was normal to have internet, but it was only Gen X and millennials who grew up before there was actual like um, World Wide Web. We had internet because the internet existed since the well, internet as a commercial service, I should say, had been around since the 80s, but we didn't have the web. So the only internet usage was by people who were using Usenet groups and email. And those same Usenet groups are still up, by the way. But you had to be like a supercomputer nerd to have internet back in the 80s. And like I said, there was no worldwide webs at the time. So you only had like Usenet groups and email, stuff like that. It wasn't until 1994 with the commercial release of the World Wide Web, um, courtesy of CERN, the research lab in France and between France and Switzerland, that we, finally had World Wide Web in '94. And so, like I said, that was millennials and Gen X. Like I said, by the time Gen Z came along in 1997, all of those things were already in place. So I would really say, and like we even have like old movies about that. Like if people watch the old Matthew Broderick movie, War Games, where he's actually on the internet playing against a computer. Um, the computer think they're playing a game, but is actually controlling like the world, like the global nuclear miss, uh, the globe's nuclear missile systems. Like that's a whole they referenced it in Captain America Winter Soldier, by the way, when Black Widow told Steve Rogers, check out a she's like, you ever heard of this movie? He's like, do you want to play a game? He's like, yeah, I seen it. So anyway, I think Gen X and millennials were the children of the information age. If by that you mean computers. Now if you mean social media, then yeah. Uh, no. Even then, no, because yeah, I would still say Gen X and millennials were the children of the information age. So, I mean, because the modern computer came around by the genius Alan Turing back in the late 1940s. And if you don't know about Alan Turing, definitely read up on him. He should be everyone's hero. Anyway, Christopher Arnold says, Zach, I'm 4 years clean. It's worth it. Own my business, making big bucks, find something better or die. It's an easy choice. Don't, well, I wouldn't put it that way, Christopher. Like, I've never struggled with addiction, so uh, I don't know what it feels like, but because I have a background in behavioral science, I do know its pitfalls. Um, it takes more than just willpower, because if it was simply a matter of willpower, anyone could be any and everyone could beat it, right? Most substance abuse, it falls under uh, those categories of mental health issues, because it's not just a matter of willpower. You, sometimes you need actual, like, psychological intervention, and that could be through medication, that can be through cognitive behavioral therapy, that can be through maybe some sort of group therapy or social intervention, all these sorts of things, to make sure you don't end up on the wrong side of the law, or you don't end up 6 feet under, right? But like I said, I'm telling them, like, if when you have like a temporary urge, maybe just go excuse me, go work out. And I don't mean like a full-fledged workout, although I would recommend getting a gym membership. But in the meantime, if you're just at home, you're like, man, I could just go for whatever right now. Start doing some push-ups. You know what I mean? Or like I said my own little fancy. Hey, go to Costco or wherever you go, just like one of those big savings uh shopping warehouses, and get like one of your favorite snacks, and just, if you have the urge, just hit that snack. I know people can say, "Oh, that's not healthy. That's gonna get him to overeat or whatever." Look, I'd rather him eat an unhealthy snack than do some illicit drug that can, you know, end him. So, but like I said, I still recommend the physical exercise. Jack said, "Yeah, I'm waiting until the next meeting at 9 a.m." Okay, like I said, in the meantime, if you got the urge, man, just do some push-ups or get a bite to eat, something like that. One says W Chris and Zach stay strong. And he says people confuse information with experience. Yeah, so speaking of that, like I said, I want to get into the logical fallacies. That is the nominal reason for this discussion. And so what logical fallacies are errors in reasoning. You have your formal fallacies and you have informal fallacies. There's more informal fallacies than there are formal fallacies. So your formal fallacies are actually like um errors in logical form. When you think of things like modus ponens and all those sorts of things, then there's for every logical form, there's an illogical form for it, and it usually has a Latin name for it. So you have the formal fallacies. We don't really have to go over the formal fallacies here unless you guys want to talk about that. We're going to concentrate on the informal fallacies, because most of us in our in our day-to-day conversations, we're not structuring deductive arguments or making deductive inferences. Most of us are usually making some sort of everyday quotidian sort of claims, which usually relies on making some sort of inductive or abductive inference. An inductive inference is more of a probabilistic argument or inference, drawing on some evidence to follow with a conclusion probabilistically, whereas a deductive argument, formal logic, formal validity, um, the conclusion follows from necessity, from the premises within a model theoretic universe. I always got to say that, because there's always some logic chopping nerd that's going to say, "Oh, well, actually, is only is only a valid inference within a model theoretic universe, whatever." Okay, good for you. So, but for the rest of us, we don't have to worry about that. So we don't. Most of us don't do deductive inferences, even though you always heard Sherlock Holmes tell Watson, uh, is he would say is clearly deduction, my dear Watson. No, no, my dear Watson is not. He's actually doing abductive inferences, which is the third type of inference. Abductive inferences are inferences to the best explanation. And these are the type of inferences we make the most of, and which are the ones that AI researchers still can't implement in our machines. Like they still don't know how to do abductive inferences. This is called the human AI problem, which is prevents us having strong AI in the sense of like a C3PO or Hell was it Hell 5000 from from 2001 Space Odyssey and all those other dystopian sorts of sci-fi movies you may have watched back in the day. We don't have strong AI like that because we don't have the capabilities of modeling abductive inferences, which are uniquely human, into our machines. As far as we know, I'm not even sure if animals do abductive inferences, but if anyone has research that contradicts that, then I'd be willing to check that out. There's other types of inferences too. There's also um, um, what do you call them? Uh, the I can't remember. I'm sorry, but these sort of inferences, the fourth type I'm thinking of, uh, they can be both inductive or abductive. They are inferences where you cut out unnecessary information to get to draw your conclusion. Uh, I can't remember the name of it. It'll come to me later. And then the fifth kind is statistical inferences, similar to inductive inferences, or some people might even conclude it. Some people might even see them as a subtype of inductive inference, but you know, maybe, but statistical inferences can be seen as unique on their own. So you have these five types of inferences. And so informal fallacies covers those latter, where formal fallacies only cover deductive inferences. And the informal fallacies, there's many different kinds of them, and many of them have Latin names to them. I'm going to avoid the Latin names, but it's like, um, and people who've seen my streams and videos have seen me use some of them, like telling someone they're begging the question, which means they're making a circular argument. Begging the question means you're assuming the very claim that you ought to be proving. That's a question begging argument, and like the Latin name for it would be petitio principe. But that's there's so many informal fallacies, and then there's a third category of fallacies, which are psychological fallacies, um, which aren't errors in reasoning. They're usually based on um, cognitive biases and perceptual biases. So these are the things we can get into. Let me look over these comments though. So Zach was going on to say each time I go out, it's getting worse. 3 days, no sleep, no food type shit. Yeah, man. If you can't function without getting a hit, you need something. You may need intensive. Um, you might need intensive group therapy, or even, or you might consider doing getting some sort of intake where you are, you know, getting like a 72-hour supervision or something if it's that bad. Because if you literally can't function where you can't eat or sleep or whatever, it might be time to go beyond just um, casual therapy. You might need to do something more intensive. So, yeah, Christmas is, yep, it's not worth it. someone who I can't read their username says hello, starts with AMR. Peter says hello. I'm from Israel. What's up? Uh, Moon says withdrawals at seek a hospital. Yeah, if he's that bad where he can't even function without eating and sleeping, he needs to check himself into a hospital. Hey, oh, what's up, Mrs. Contrarian? I didn't even see you here. Why didn't nobody tell me my wife was here, guys? What's up, Mahal? Um, she's currently on vacation, guys. So I'm surprised she checked in. She's having fun. Where? Well, yeah, I mean, don't tell me where you are, but yeah. Uh, Christopher says it's more mental for him right now. Pause. I don't think that was a pause comment, but yeah, that Christopher, that's exactly what I'm saying. You saying it's more mental for him. I agree. That's what I'm saying. I would tell him if it's to the point where he doesn't have the volition to even control himself and he can't even like function, he can't sleep, can't eat. He needs to check himself in for like a 72-hour supervision. Kat is here. She says, "Hey all, I'm here briefly. What's up?" Uh, Sex has got that right. I'm on Campro, but it's not doing stuff. I don't know what Campro is, but again, uh, if what they have you on isn't working, that means either that's one of two things. That means either they have to titrate the dosage, or that particular medication doesn't work for you. The problem with psychoactive medication generally is that psychotropic medication is not very precise. Like the way like heart medicine is precise, right? Um, Other sorts of medication we have like antivirals, antibacterial, things like that. These are very precise medications. Unfortunately, psychotropic medication is not that precise because there's still a lot we don't know about neuropsychiatric disorders. Because at the end of the day, even though we may treat these through behavioral and psychological uh, talk therapy and other and with certain medications, we still don't know a lot about these disorders because most of us have a sneaking suspicion within the behavioral science world. A lot of us have a sneaking suspicion that all psychiatric disorders are really some sort of neurological disorder at root. And if we had more understanding of it, we could treat them more as just the way we treat medical disorders. So who, well, I don't know. But like I said, if the medication ain't working for you, I would say you need to seek um, some possible in hospitalization. He said the pause does goes away. I have been where you are. It's hardest thing I've ever tried. Well, guys, all right, this is cool and all, but I'm not gonna talk about addiction all day. That's not the purpose of this chat. Mr. T says boomers were the first defiant generation. I won't even say they're the first defiant generation. Every generation was seen defiant by their by their predecessors. Um, so yes, boomers were considered defiant to the silent generation, who were their parents. Um, and I'm pretty sure the silent generation were considered defiant by the greatest generation. That was their predecessors, and then before them was the lost generation. People don't know the lost generation was probably I think the lost generation was the first of the generations for the 20th century. The lost generation, then the greatest generation. The lost generation would basically have been the ones who fought in World War I. The greatest generation, the ones who fought in World War II. Uh, the boomers were the ones who were either the hippies or fought in Vietnam War. and then there's Gen X. We grew up mostly in a time of the Cold War. We didn't have any major wars. Like we had wars, but nothing major. There's like the first Persian Gulf War, um, the war in Grenada. There was our intervention in places like Somalia and in the Balkans, former Yugoslavia, stuff like that. But we didn't have any major wars until the Persian Gulf War. This really the second Persian Gulf War because the first Persian Gulf War was over in like 2 weeks. I don't think a lot of people give the first President Bush enough credit for that. Not Bush Jr., Bush Sr. Bush Sr. Was a pretty effective president. I think he's overshadowed because he falls between Reagan and Clinton. So people kind of forget about the original Bush, who was first. He was the vice president to Ronald Reagan. But before he was vice president to Ronald Reagan, people didn't know he was the director of the CIA. So he was about that life. Like I said, he was a very effective president. What lost him a second a second term was the economy. And this is why the Clintons had always said it's always about the economy, stupid. Because as good of a president as you are, people are going to judge the state of the country by the health of their wallet. So when there's economic turmoil, that's usually a time where a president is not going to get reelected. So, um, Belinda says hello, sending love and blessings to you. Hope all has been well on your end. Thank you. She says the generation is too lazy. Um, Kat says that deal with the core traumas in early life will help you overcome addictive behaviors. Bottom line is addiction is just self-medicating. Ask yourself, what are you medicating yourself for? So she brings up a good point, guys, that often people who have substance abuse problems are actually medicating them, are self-medicating. There's often comorbid conditions for people who have substance abuse problems. When I say comorbid conditions, that means that there's tends to be other psychological issues going on beyond the substance abuse itself. Um, However, the part I do disagree with is saying that you should discover your core traumas in early life. The thing about that is that we know now, excuse me, through behavior research, is that psychodynamic therapy, psychodynamic therapy, and what's called help-centered or Rogerian therapy and Gestalt therapy aren't very effective when you when you do a meta analysis of all these different types of therapies. The most beneficial is cognitive therapy. Um, all the other ones will give you some generic benefit, which is called the dodo bird effect, which means just by the process of going to any sort of therapy, there will be just a, a some a easing of a person's problems. But some people consider that dodo bird effect no more than a placebo effect or a patient expectancy effect. So the problem with getting insight into your core traumas and stuff like that is that research has shown that while getting insight into your core your like deep-seated problems, which usually revolves around family, to be honest, or something that happened to you when in your childhood, the the insight often doesn't help cure your problems. It can be psychologically rewarding to get insight into some of the root causes of your problems, but the evidence has shown it doesn't actually help cure your problems. For that, you need to focus on the present, which is why cognitive therapy is so beneficial, because it focuses on what's going on with you now. So if you go to a cognitive therapist or a behavioral therapist, um, you're not going to sit down and be freely associating on that couch talking about, yeah, well, see, when I was 8, my mom slapped the shit out of me, and then it's not going to be anything like that. The cognitive therapist is going to be like, okay, that's cool and all, but why are you thinking that way right now? And they're going to point out to you why your current way of thinking is irrational, and and the processes that you need to do to change that way of thinking. That's what they're going to do, and that's why it's more effective. So, like I said, the insight is good, but it doesn't help cure the the, the actual um, psychological ailments, right? Just deuces, my generation is millennial. Howard says all up to Zach. Just realize it gets easier the longer you stay dry. You ain't the first to go through it. True that. I mean, we have a lot of substance abuse problems in the military. It goes hand shit. It goes hand in hand almost. A lot of those cats come out of the military with substance abuse problems. My uncle did. He was. Everyone told me like my uncle was like a really clean cut dude when when he went into the Navy. Like he even when he came out, he was still he was still firing in all cylinders. Like the dude had became a state trooper. He wouldn't even like he wouldn't drive 1 mile over the speed limit. Like he was squared away. Um, and for I don't know how he did it, but he was both a state trooper and a correctional officer at one point, and he lost both jobs, to drug use, being stupid, and he's had a volatile life ever since. But then when I talked to him about his past, like I'm like, damn, this is so tragic. He was cool. I talked to him. It was like, damn, when he was younger than me, when he was in his 20s and all that, he was squared away. I was like, he fucked that all up. So I get it. We have substance abuse problems in my family, a little too close to home, but I won't go there right now. But not with me though, and not with my wife. We are good. But yeah, man, it's hard, and you can't do it on your own. It's not a matter of willpower. If it was a matter of willpower, then helping psychology will be a really easy field. But it's not. you know, Psychological rehabilitation, helping psychology, all these things would be really easy if everything could just be a matter of willpower. If you could just say, well, I'm going to will myself into being clean, I'm going to will myself into not being depressed and anxious. Wish it was that easy, but it's not. But back to logical fallacies. I'm keep letting this draw me out into into talking about this stuff. Ray Roberts says, Simplify, brother. What's up, Ray? James says, hi, brother, from San Antonio, Texas. What's going on? D Nice says, what's the time for your 2 mile? I was using a weight vest, so it was really slow. It was 22 minutes, but I had on I think it's about 26 pounds, my weight vest. And I had did a long run earlier today, so I wasn't expecting it to be fast. That's what she said, right? um, Ratman says if you can tolerate it, Gaelic sea salt in your water. That's what Catherine says. She does something similar to that. If Catherine is still here, I know she had to dip out, but she recommends some sort of sea salt as well. I don't know if that helps for. I don't. I don't know if that helps for kicking for like people with an addiction, unless you're talking about with me when I was referring to hydrating. I don't know if you're referring to me hydrating or to him with his addiction, but um, I remember as far as addiction is concerned, I remember the Malcolm X movie where the guy in prison told him, gave him some nutmeg and put it, I think, in his coffee or something like that to help him kick his addiction. So I don't know if that's true or not, or if that was just in the movie, but that was the, if you guys remember the Malcolm X movie by Spike Lee, it was also in his autobiography as well when he was talking about losing his addiction, but it was a different character in the movie than the person who actually helped him in the book, which was, I believe, his brother. But anyway, um, he put like nutmeg in his drink, which I think was coffee or something, to help him kick the addiction. And he was on something stronger. He wasn't on. I think Malcolm X at the time when he was still Malcolm Little was addicted to, I think, heroin and cocaine. So Howard says Gen Z will be the defining generation on a global scale to influence world social norms. Oh, Catherine. Okay, she did talk on it. She says I use Baja Gold sea salt or Celtic sea salt in my water for electrolytes. Electrolytes is what the plants crave. I recommend Brondo. Let me stop. If you guys haven't seen Idiocracy, I highly recommend that movie. We're currently living in that situation right now. Um, he's like, you're not supposed to feed Brondo to plants. He said, "Oh, you know what plants crave?" He said, "Well, no, but I'm pretty sure that they don't use electrolytes." Let me stop. Raven says, "My bad. Yes, Celtic. That's what I meant." Oh, you got the Gaelic and Celtic confused. No problem. Bang says, "What's up?" Cass is like, share, and subscribe, buy Contrarian a coffee, or drop a super chat. Thank you. Melissa says 80s Hot Pockets, I believe. Hot Pockets. It probably is because I still have that commercial in my head. That, you know, the jingle. Like some, I wish I could be a jingle writer. Some jingles are will forever live in some people's head. Like you can't say hop if you are an older person, if you are in your 40s, maybe even late 30s, you can't say hot pockets without thinking of that jingle, hot pockets. Like I can't. It's always going to be in my head. Pause. Reminisce says the microwave burritos for me, bro. I still have micro. I literally just had microwavable burritos like 3 days ago. But I like buying classic stuff. Like when I buy like junk food, when I do grocery shopping, when any sort of junk food is always going to be like classic stuff, like classic Doritos, um, or like Elio's pizza, like the little school lunch rectangle pizzas, um, fruit snacks, like I mentioned earlier, the microwavable burritos. I even bought like some the old Oscar Mayer ham and the Oscar Mayer bologna. Pause. But yeah, I like when I want like unhealthy food. I like the old stuff because I know it. I trust it. I don't like the newer stuff. It's like they do too much with it. It's too sweet. It's too salty. It's like they got too much things going on. Like I don't eat Mountain Dew Doritos. Like you know the no, I mean sorry, Dorito flavored Mountain Dew and crazy stuff like that, or hot Cheetos, fiery hot Cheetos. Like why? So fried bologna. If you know, you know. Yeah. Rashmika says hello, guys. Namaste. Thank you. Only says, yeah, the pizza rolls are a sure way to always burn your tongue, but we loved it. Freeze pops too, and fried bologna sandwiches was life. Sandwiches, sorry, sandwiches. That's damn right. What I hated though, guys. So my mom used to try to be healthy. Not to mention we used to be Muslim, so didn't really fix us pork back in the day. Only time I got pork was like over like my auntie's house or my grandmother's house. My auntie, she was actually like a third grandmother. I should say fourth grandmother because I had my two grandmothers, and then I had my my mother's godmother who was like my grandmother as well, and then I had my great aunt who was also like a grandmother. So it's like I had like four grandmoms. Now I only have one left, unfortunately, but she used to make me fried pork chops, and my mom didn't stop her, even though we were Muslim. Like she would let her fix me fried pork chops. Um, and you know, even though, like I said, I'm FDA, Foundation of Black America, and all that. Like I actually lived in a Jamaican community in Baltimore when I was little, and my nanny was Jamaican, so she used to fix me a whole bunch of stuff I wasn't supposed to eat either. um, but what was the point I was making with the fried bologna sandwiches? Um, yeah, so she used to make me bologna sandwiches for lunch, but she tried to be healthy, so she would put it on wheat bread and she would only buy turkey bologna. I don't know what it was about that combination with the wheat bread and turkey bologna, but it used to stink. By the time 12, 11 o'clock rolled around, my lunch stank. And it made me not want to even eat the damn sandwich. Like half the time I would throw it away because I couldn't stand the smell of it. I don't know what it is. Maybe I need to ask Chat GPT or OpenAI why, but there was some weird combination where if you put turkey bologna, not beef bologna, but turkey bologna and mustard on wheat bread, it caused a pungent odor, and it just did not. It was. It didn't taste. It didn't smell nicely, and it didn't taste well. And I would just throw it away. Unless I was really hungry, I would eat it, but I hated it. But when I was at home and I would just fry it, it was fine. And it was to that point that the only way I would eat bologna is if it was fried. But now when I eat the classic Oscar Mayer deli beef bologna, it tastes fine without frying it. And I guess a lot of grown folks locked up still eat bologna because they feed them those they call them sweaty what they call it sweaty meat sandwiches from my cousins and stuff that was telling me about the stuff they eat, call us sweaty meat sandwiches. I'm like, why you call it sweaty meat? He's like, because it always looks. He said, because it always looks wet. So pause. But yeah, they eat bologna sandwiches in the joint. So, no love says, what time is it for you? That's a good. It's 1 o'clock. So actually, I need to be getting off, brother. Thank you for actually asking me that because I didn't even get to my subject. So I might do a part two to this so we can actually. I want to actually have you guys ask me different um, types of fallacies or ask me questions about certain types of reasoning, and I can tell you whether it's a type of fallacy or if it's actually a um, a legitimate um, type of way of thinking. Because too many people, when they get into arguments online or in person with each other, most of the time they don't even realize they're committing these fallacies. So they wonder why so many people remain unconvinced of what they're saying. And here's the thing, a lot of people, even if you don't know the logical fallacies, both formal and informal, you don't know the different psychological errors, which we, or cognitive biases and stuff like that. most of us have logical intuitions where we know something is wrong that someone is telling us, even if we can't specify what it is about what they said that is wrong. We still have those logical intuitions all the same, because we have we have evolved to to do truth evaluation, which is part of our, makes up our reasoning abilities, that we have these innate we have an innate ability for truth evaluation, which allows us to construct formal systems of reasoning, and you know uh, are actually are parts of the explanation of how we know how the mind works. So I would like to get into that stuff. I don't know what this guy is asking me to support him. You should be supporting me. I'm the one doing the content creation. It's you're not going to get far asking a content creator to support you unless you are providing some sort of product or service for them. So that's not going to go very well for you, Rashmika. The only one I support is my wife. Okay. Mona says that's 3 times Big Freedom. That's spam now. Add a super chat or I'll remove you. Ooh, my mods ain't playing, guys. Mona says hit the super chat at the bottom right of your screen if you want a question answered immediately. Excuse me, immediately. Buy a coffee and like share a sub. Um, Catherine says, okay, sorry, I have to go and walk the dog, get my exercise in. We'll check in later if you're still going. Much love to all. Thanks. Thank you, Kat. Now I'm be gone in a few. I should have been gone already, actually. Uh, checking these comments. Exotic myself, so you look like you kill somebody. Well, I was in the army, so you can draw your own conclusions from that. Although, again, no one. Well, anyway, I'll have to. Jeremy says hello all. Da, 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 and like Moonlit was telling Rashmika, I'll get to everyone's comments in time. Sometimes funny checking what was deleted to see how goofy people are. It is late, so I expect a lot of idiocy at this time of night. Just due to my dad was involved in all that Kosovo, Serbia, Bosnia crap. Yeah, we lost a good assistant principal. No, not like she, we lost her like she passed away or anything. We lost her because she quit her job so that she could raise um, uh, a Bosnian kid that she adopted. Um, so yeah, and like I said, we there was a lot of conflicts that happened in the between the 80s and early 90s. It was just we didn't have any major wars, and like I said, until the 2000s after 9/11, with the whole um, second Persian Gulf War involving Iraq, Afghanistan, Kuwait, and all those other places. But the first Persian Gulf War, like I said, was literally done in 2 weeks, so I wouldn't call it a major war. Like, when we went in, like when I went into the army in '98, when when it was time for us to like kind of like chillax, like just hang out or whatever, Joe Sargent was like getting to the Iraqi fighting position, which meant go relax. We put our hands up behind our head. That was called the this was called the Iraqi fighting position. So yeah, we the worst we worried about from the 80s to the early 90s was the Cold War, because we always worried that something was going to pop off between us and the Soviet Union. But again, in George Bush's presidency, the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991. So again, I think he's a very underrated president, and I think history will show him as having a quite stable presidency. Like there was a war under him, but he won it in 2 weeks, right? um, the country was fairly stable at the time, but the economy tanked, and that's what cost him his second term. So, what? Never make mods a female. My female moderators are my best moderators. I don't know what you're talking about. This all weird 2K. My female mods are the dopest. I mean, have you not seen Black Panther? It was a reason why he got off an all female guard. Like, or if you ever saw Enter the Dragon, where the bad guy, all his personal guards were women. They are very protective, very protective. My wife is one of my admins here. She doesn't play, and none of them are trying to block anyone to get some D. That doesn't even make sense. How would that work? Most people are chiming into the chat room from all across the world. How are they trying to get some D from that? That doesn't even make sense. And if they did, so what? I mean, anyway, Melissa's grow up. This little weird. He's an incel man. I'm sorry. He said, "Say that that ish to me. Your mom should have swallowed you instead." You sexist fuck, and I'm a male. Play with me. I know, like it. It just came out of complete left field moment. Like what? I was like, yo, the female mods are like usually your best moderators. I mean, not taking away anything away from you as well, of course. But you know what I'm saying? Like female mods go to bat. Like they're not playing. Cat doesn't play. Agatha doesn't play. Um, Miss Needle doesn't play when she's here. um, my wife, she definitely doesn't play. So I don't know what he's talking about. Just dude says anyway, man, good talking with you, but I need to get to bed. So do I, bro. I'm just trying to go through all these comments before I check out. Melissa says, yeah, the accuracy references, yes. That's right. Brondo's what plants crave. And I'm sorry, I want a president. What was his name? Hector Elizondo, something like. He gonna make me go watch that movie again. God, that shit is funny. You know they were supposed to be a part. I think they were gonna make a sequel to that, and they never did. But I think a sequel to like some movies are just good standalone movies. Like I think any sequel to that would have probably just ruined it. Like, sort of like the Joker sequel for completely ruined the first one. Like I'm glad I didn't go see it, even though I know what happened in it. So it still kind of ruins the first movie for me, the knowing what happens at the very end of the second Joker movie. Spoiler alert: he's not actually the Joker, and the real Joker kills him at the very end of the movie. So, um, anyway, Idiocracy is just dope. I heard in the sequel they were thinking about like showing there was going to actually be like smart people that were still around at the time. They were like, like kind of um, encapsulated from the rest of them. I'm gonna look it up on Google to see if that was just some fan fiction or whether that was actual idea that they were gonna make a sequel to that and make that a possible plot twist. I don't know, but I always had a sneaking suspicion that if they did make a sequel, they would show that there were still actually smart people around because obviously, who were the ones who would have designed these machines in the first place? Because the machines were the only thing keeping society from utterly falling apart. House of Idiocracy was never intended to be a documentary. That's the funny thing though, because like I said, the director actually came out like I'm gonna say about 5 years ago and said he said, you know, my movie has actually become a documentary. Like the director himself said that. So it wasn't supposed to become one, but it did. Miney says, "Hi, brother. How are you? I'm doing well." Anthony says, "Do I play Fortnite? I don't play video games at all." Stranger says, "Muslims don't eat pork." Yes, that is true. However, I was a little kid. I didn't know what my dietary restrictions were. My mom did. I didn't. um, truth. Uh, to if anything, I wasn't supposed to be eating any sort of like animal protein at all because I had PKU as a child, which meant I was supposed to be on a very strict diet that didn't allow almost any animal protein or dairy at all. But like I said, my Jamaican nanny, she used to still sneak me food that I wasn't supposed to eat, even though I was on that strict medical diet as a child. And on top of that, I was Muslim, so I wasn't supposed to eat pork. So, but you know, occasionally I did. But my mom didn't feed it to me, but I got it from my aunties and grandmothers. Again, if you're a 6 year old child, you're not worrying about what is haram and what isn't haram. Like I'm 6 years old, like I don't care. If my auntie's going, if I ask my auntie for some fried pork chops, she was gonna do it for me. I didn't know I was Muslim. I mean, I didn't know what that was. So, um, Mary Shite, this is so sweaty meat sandwiches, huh? Or you like that, Mary, huh? But yeah, I don't know what your racial background is, but let's be honest. In any black family, you know someone who's been locked up, and they can tell you stories about being locked up. They'll tell you stuff about the food they eat, how they use ramen, ramen noodles to is like currency there. Um, Someone said they had a I think they had like a video for people first coming into the correctional facilities where so if you guys remember if you ever like worked at a retail store or a fast food store, remember the little introductory video they would make you watch after you got hired, telling you how things worked in the in the fast food place or in the department store, like you got a you got a job at Sears, and after you get hired, you have to sit around with all the new hires and watch the video on how things are. Hi, I'm Troy McClure. You may have seen me in such movies as sorry, that's a Simpsons reference if you don't know who Troy McClure is. But yeah, you have like you have these struggling actors playing people working in that retail store or in that restaurant, showing you all the things you're supposed to do and do not do. Apparently, some prisons had something like that too. I don't know who the fuck they got to do that. Maybe they got time off their sentence for making these dumbass videos, but so someone told me like there was like an instructional video for the prisoners or something like that. I,
I don't know if he said it was. I don't know if it was actors or real inmates. I don't know what it was, but the guy was saying like the guy was sitting there right, and he saw like little Debbie's on someone's like bunk in the cell, and he was about to eat it. He said, "Hey man, don't be grabbing them. Don't be grabbing them little Debbie's. You grab that little Debbie, you're gonna be somebody's punk. Something like that." I was like, "Wait, what?" Yo, he told me that I cried laughing. I'm like, "Are you serious?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "So they gonna take your butt if you eat the little Debbie's?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "They had that on the video?" He's just like, "Yeah." I'm like, "What?" But yeah, the sweaty meat sandwiches apparently is what they refer to as lunch meat. But for some reason, they said the meat they said the meat was always wet, so they called it sweaty meat sandwiches. I'm guessing the reason why it was wet is because they kept them in the refrigerator, and that kept like in that I think that's what it was. They probably kept them in refrigerators, and that kept them cold and clammy. I'm gonna just choose next words carefully, quote unquote, Mary. Right, I know, because it was looking like it was going to a pause. Like there was a huge pause following that next reply. Maid the maid Marian. No, the maid Martian says Unc was a contrarian. A contrarian is a person who takes the contrary view or the opposing view to whatever is the main viewpoint on some given subject. That's what a contrarian is. So I'm not actually a contrarian. I call myself just a contrarian because often people will say that just to dismiss whatever you have to say if you don't agree with them. Because again, an actual contrarian is someone who intentionally takes the opposite of any main viewpoint because it makes them feel like they're the smartest person in the room. So no matter what the given topic is, whatever most people agree on, that person will take the opposite view. So if everyone says, "Well, uh, smoke causes lung cancer," it'll be that one person in the room. Well, actually, it really doesn't. Like that's a myth. Like that's the contrarian. Like right. So, but the thing is, people don't like folks to disagree with them. So sometimes even if you're right, they'll call you a contrarian just because they don't like you disagreeing with them. So that's why I said my name is just a contrarian because I used to hear that a lot. Because when you talk, when I'm talking with people in college, it was a different sort of conversation than people who I would talk with when I was in the army or when I was around family. And so they would just kind of think I'm just trying to sound smart and say, "Oh, you're just being a contrarian." So that's where the name came from. uh, and Melissa's agreed. That's why I let his comments slide so you can address it. Someone's asking, "Hey man, can you give some life tips?" Well, that was what this was supposed to be, was on logical fallacies. But I've run this too late and didn't get to the core of what I wanted to talk about. So I'm gonna do it tomorrow. I'm just gonna call this logical fallacies part two tomorrow. Simpsons, yeah, Simpsons reference, right? Moonlit Friends is all caught up, soldier, at ease. Um, um, yeah, Troy McClure was the joint, played by the actor from Saturday Night Live. Monica says hello. I wish I could see some of you guys profile pics or avatars, but well, some people use female names and they'd be actually guys. Like, you know, can't really see some of these. Sorry if I put on my little. These are my reading glasses. Then people say, "Oh, you look old," or "You look like Gus Fring," or whatever, whatever. Is Mary? Is Mary? Are you the one from Maryland? Did you change your name, Mary? If you're still here, Monica, what's up? I'm actually about to get off because it's 1 o'clock where I am. I'm on Eastern Standard Time, but I will be back earlier and I'm going to do the same topic again. But hopefully, I can get into the core of it. Like, I wanted to talk about logical fallacies, specifically informal fallacies, which are sort of the errors in reasoning we make when we're either making claims or trying to refute someone else's claims or, you know, trying to construct some sort of argument or evaluate someone else's argument. Melissa says BO, Mary is a transformer. Well, I mean, if that's that person's journey, that's cool with me. I mean, either way, I'm not gonna hit on anyone in here. Like I said, I'm happily married, so um, I'm not hitting on anyone, no matter how pretty they may appear. Even if they are actually whom they appear to be, it still wouldn't matter because got the wifey, and you know, happy with that. Got the Asian wife. You know what I say, Moonlit. If it ain't Asian, it ain't amazing. So I'm Audi 5,000 peeps. Every time I say that, I want to go watch Class Act. If you guys haven't watched Class Act, go treat yourself to Class Act Kid and Play. I love that movie, and I like the movie just because the humor is corny, but it's I think I think the I think the humor is deliberately corny, which is why I like it. Like, when the girl's pushing up on kid, and she was like, "So Blade, you gonna help me with my fraud?" And her boyfriend like, "Hey yo, Demeter." That said, "Hey Demeter, hey yo Demeter." He said, "Why don't you play with my frog? Cause your frog ain't jumping in my direction." I'm sorry. All right, I'm getting goofy. When it gets late, I get silly, guys. So let me go. When the kid was walking Demeter home from school, he like the dude sitting out on the corner. Hey, look at that chump. He's like, yo, I used to go with her. He like, when? And she looked back at him like, what y'all dumb niggas look at that? And he's like, no. Yeah, all right. I'm about to watch class. I might watch that in the morning or something because I shouldn't have said Audi 5,000 peeps. That put me. I'm gone. Between that and Idiocracy. I'm probably gonna watch one of those tomorrow. Treat myself. But all right, guys, I'm out. I promise to be back earlier, and then I'm gonna do the same topic tomorrow. Logical fallacies, but we can actually get into them. You can leave it in the comment section if you want me to address any specific type of fallacies. You can ask me why is it a fallacy, or what is the name of the fallacy, or what's the Latin name of the fallacy, stuff like that. Or if you want to know what the different formal fallacies are, because there are formal fallacies as well. The formal fallacies deal with the form of the argument itself. Like the funny thing about a formal fallacy is the content could actually be correct, but in logical, excuse me, in formal logic, we're dealing merely with the syntactic form of the argument itself, right? So if the syntactic form of the argument or the inference is is incorrect, that makes it invalid. Okay, so that's why we have logical fallacies because the form is incorrect. Whereas with inductive inference, um, or even with deductive inferences, but we're dealing with because you have syntactic validity, which deals mainly with just the actual form of the argument itself, and then you have semantic validity, which deals with the content of the content of the argument. And so the informal fallacies are deal with the semantic validity or um, the strength of a informal argument. So we can get into those, and you can ask me about different psychological errors. And I'm not when I talk about psychological errors, I'm not talking about mental health. I'm talking about different sorts of cognitive or perceptual or emotional biases, because those can actually become errors in our arguments as well. Okay. Such as like selective thinking, um, shoehorning evidence, you know, um, you know, experimental error, um, not knowing how to interpret statistics, all sorts of things. But like, so I'm gonna go into this tomorrow more in depth. I'm gonna do it earlier, and I'm gonna stick very closely to just that. So I'm not going to be answering any questions outside of that unless someone drops a super chat. Okay. But for people watching this on replay today, I mean, as well as you're currently watching this, that is, if you're watching this on replay, you can leave those comments either in this one, in on this video in the comment section, or in the next one to follow this one. And if you want to support me, guys, you can sign up for my membership. Starts at $1.99, very cheap. Or you can drop me a super thanks, or you can buy me a coffee, or drop a cash app. Those links will be in the description. The super thanks is on your screen. Okay. So if you want to do that, feel free. I do have members only content on here. I have some videos. I have some community tabs posts. Well, they changed the name. They no longer call it community tabs. They just call it post. So you can go to my post and see some of the stuff I put up there. I have some members only posts on there. I have some members only videos. I don't have, and I have some members only live streams too. Most of those are dealing with like working out and stuff like that. Um, but feel free to check those out. All right. And if I get more members, I'll make some more membership only content for those loyal followers. Out and I want to give a shout out to one of my longest, I think, members. Think first, act second. He's been one of my longest running members. So shout out to him. I hope he's still watching. But anyway, I'm gonna go, guys. So take care. Thank you for everyone who contributed. Wait, I see some more comments. I thought I was at the end. Sorry. Monica says new subscriber. Thank you, Monica. Mm. Marlon says I'm here to practice my English. May not be the best place to do so. Melissa's definitely into Peaky Blinders. The mom is gangster as F, and the squad has razor blades and the caps. Yeah, I saw that in one of the episodes, and I realized they're Irish Romani. Romani refers to the people who used to be called gypsies, but gypsy, they actually consider the word gypsy a slur, so don't call any people who are Roma gypsies. We have some Roma people here too. Like, often if you go to a place and they're doing like tarot cards and psychic readings, those are probably Romani people doing it. They either refer to themselves as Roma or Romani. Um, There's also some Latino groups that do the psychic readings and tarot cards too, but it's depending on the community. They could be the um, of Latino origin or Roma, especially like if it's somewhere like New York or something like that. They're probably Roma. Melissa's kid play. Melissa's Marlon, subscribe to him. You will learn more facts. And I mean, you can ask me some English questions if you drop it in the super chat. Captain says, "Hi, I'm back and just finished my walk now in the infrared sauna." So anyway, guys, I'm gonna be Audi 5000. Guys, take care. Thanks.